I'm here to tell a story, and hopefully, as I know you talk to a lot of people, but just to be able to potentially help, especially men who there's a lot of shame. Like if you asked me like 6 months ago, like would I be here talking to you, telling this? Like fuck you, no fucking way. But yeah, well here I am. I'm a law school grad. About 2 or 3 semesters before I finished law school, I took a job at a bar in South Bay of San Diego. And I was like, well, what do I be doing there? I asked my buddy, like, well, what do you got over there? And he's like, well, I got bartender, but you're probably not going to be able to do that. But I think you'd be good at security. And I was like, I saw Roadhouse once, but I'm not sure what that's gonna entail. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. I'm like, great. And so I take a job as a security guard in this club, and there's a person who's there, I'm gonna put it like this, who's associated with the club. I'm not saying she worked there, and I'm not saying she was a patron, but she was an associate of the club. And I knew she was married. It wasn't like a secret where like, oh my, I'm totally submarined. I had no idea that this has happened. She was very upfront that she was married. She has this huge rock on her finger. And it started off very platonically. Like, hey, you want to go out to in San Diego? We have Cowles Mountain. And so like I like mountain climbing, and let's go do Cowles Mountain. And there was no like, oh man, I'm totally going to bang this chick or anything like that. It was just very platonic. Even after we had done Cowles Mountain, done the hike, came back, we had breakfast, very platonic. We gave like a little hug, and then that was it. There was no like, oh yeah, I'm a jerk off about this later, and blah, blah, blah. Within 1 month, me and this girl were in bed together. And that was it. I felt absolutely, I was even, before we even, the physical encounter, I even told her, listen, I have to tell you something. I love you. I love you beyond measure. I love you so much. And I think, a lot of times, especially we as men, we've been there. But this was for me, and at that time, it was special. And wow, about a month after we were in bed together, we went to the gym, and there's a Zales right next to the gym. And so we're like, we're checking it out. I'm like, what kind of ring would you want if I were to buy you one? I'm not saying I'm gonna buy you one, even though in my own mind, I'm like, I'm gonna totally ask this chick to marry me, even though she's already fucking married. And so we go in there, and I damn near max out my credit card. I got like a 5G credit card. So I buy the ring first because I'm a little concerned, like, hey, will you marry me? And then I try to buy the ring, and it's like, I'm sorry, sir, your credit card's been declined. We've been instructed by the credit card company to shred it in your presence. That's all I was worried about. So I bought the ring first. And I was like, well, I'll buy the ring first. And if you don't like it, we can, or if, eventually we decide not to, I can return the ring. So I buy the ring, credit card goes through, and I take it and I put it on her finger, and I ask her, will you marry me? Now, to be fair, she said yes. She said yes. A married woman said yes to a proposal for marriage. And that started off this 3-year adventure. And it really wasn't an adventure. It was me being the other guy. And for 3 years, I was the other guy in this marriage. And the guy eventually found out about me. And we had what was called, me and her had something called the plan. The plan was, well, she's going to leave her husband, who she called her situation. And she was going to leave her home, which she called her current. And she's going to leave her situation and her current, and she's going to come live with me. And we're going to have this life together. And that obviously never happened. And so eventually, as it progressed, I ended up asking, hey, what's the deal? Where are we at with this? Because I'm not even seeing this chick. We're not even like we're literally like we're engaged, but we are literally not seeing one another. We ordinarily saw each other on Saturdays because those are the days that he worked, and so she'd have an excuse to come spend a day with me. We'd spend a day together, and then, well, in the night, blah blah blah, and it usually revolved around a club. At a point, I really didn't even need the money. I just needed a little extra cash while I was finishing law school. And at a certain point when I finished law school, I was like, well, I don't really need this job anymore. I don't need the stress. I don't need the fights. I don't need the drunks. It's only, the money fucking blows. It's under the table, but it fucking sucks. And well, as it progresses and we're seeing each other like almost nothing. One night she calls me. She calls me around 11 o'clock at night. And we talk, and I'm totally a simp. I am totally like, I love you. I'm begging. I'm literally with tears in my eyes, which is often. I am often with tears in my eyes, just begging just for even just to have 5 minutes together.
You had it bad.
I had it. Oh, I had it. Like I was down. I was literally down. There was one day I'm a pretty proud person. I actually got down on my knees and begged. I begged. That, and I don't beg for anything. I wouldn't beg for my life, but I was begging just for time with her, just for a day together. And this went on for the first 6 months were okay. The first 6 months almost had in that it was like a normal relationship. We had lunch together. We were intimate together. We spent time together, blah, blah, blah. We went places together. And it was, after her husband found out, it's kind of funny how it all kind of, there's nothing funny about it. It's actually very tragic. One day she went to Orange County to go to a wedding. And she's up there. She's texting me. And she's like, oh, baby, I'm having a good time. I miss you. I'm doing this Mexican dance. I'm all sweaty. And I say something like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I was like, oh, I wish I was sweaty with you. And, of course, guess who's reading the text? Right after I say, no, I wish I was sweating with you. It's this fucking guy. It's her husband. And it was like, well, and of course his question is, well, who's Mike? And why does he want to sweat with you? And that's when she was like, well, listen, let's go outside. Let's talk. And then she told him, like, well, basically I'm just banging this guy. Or I don't know what the fuck she told him. And he found out. And he texted me. He actually called. Excuse me. He called first. And he was like, I missed a call because I didn't have a good signal. I texted him I called him right back, and I texted him, like, I take it you want to talk. Because I'm a very upfront guy. I take it you want to talk. And he's like, no, not really. Have a good day. And I said something along the lines of like, well, I'm sorry this all happened. So I don't know this fucking guy. And here I am. Not only am I banging his fucking wife, I'm trying to steal his fucking wife. So I am like from when I went to college for the first time before I joined the United States Marine Corps, I studied classics. So I was like Paris stealing Helen of Troy from Menelaus. And what Menelaus is doing, he's hosting a big party for everybody. He welcomes these people, Hector and Paris, into his home, and then fucking Paris steals his fucking wife. He doesn't even just bang his wife, he steals his wife. And that's what I felt like. I'm stealing a guy I don't know, who's never done me any harm. Not only am I porking his wife, but I'm trying to steal his wife. So I feel like a complete fucking asshole. And don't get me wrong, I've had my fair share of intimate moments with women. And we'll get that in a little bit in terms of my relationship with women and how that's turned out. But really, and then eventually she's like, hey, listen, it's not, I'm going to work it out with my husband, and I wish you the best. That's when I proceed to lose my shit. And it takes me about 2 years to get it back. Like, no kidding. This is not for dramatic effect. It takes me 2 years to get my shit back. So she calls me, and then she says, hey, I'm going to work it out with my husband. I wish you the best. And in my own mind, in my own delusions, I'm like, no. This is, we've broken up before. We're going to get through this because we are meant to be together. And so I don't accept it. I'm like, no. She just needs a little space. She needs a little space. She just needs a little time. And me and her, this is meant to be. This is meant to be. At any rate, about 2 weeks later on our anniversary, the anniversary basically just being the first day we just hooked up. They were just calling it for what it is. For me, it was like this special day where it started this relationship that was so special. For her, it was just, fucking. And I saw it for something it wasn't. And she's like, I don't get what you don't understand. I've already broken up with you. I don't know why you're trying so hard. And I just really want you to leave me alone. And I proceed to tell her that she's going to rue the day she ever met me. She's going to regret the day she ever met me. And I'm going to make sure people know what a whore she is. So, again, I've told people this, and they're like, that was you? And I'm like, that was me. Hey, it happens to the best of us. And so that night I get drunk, and I am going on a texting spree about who she is. I want everybody who potentially knows her and knows me and her. Everybody that might have met her once knows basically what's going on. That she just basically dumped me after 3 years of me just waiting as the other guy. Because I saw it as something special. She just saw it as maybe plan B. And this is no offense to women. I love women. I have respect for women. At the same time, a woman doesn't leave a relationship until she's got something on the back end. And in retrospect, I think what happened was, because I'm a 180 from her husband. I'm not speaking negatively about anybody, but it's he's not a very well-educated guy. I'm a very well-educated guy. Again, that's not a ding on anybody. That's just calling it for what it is. A heavier set, bigger guy who's well-traveled. He's a shorter guy who's never really traveled anywhere. And so I'm just something new for her. It quickly becomes a legal matter. I don't go to jail. Almost, but not quite. It becomes a restraining order. And so quickly. So this happens on a Friday. And on Monday, she's at the courthouse begging and pleading for a restraining order. Now, I don't know this yet, so for those who may not be familiar with restraining orders, or especially domestic violence restraining orders, it takes a couple days. So you fill out the paperwork, you watch a video. It's like a half-day process. It's not something it just whipped out for you. It takes like a half-day process. And so I don't get the paperwork until Thursday. So we're talking like 4 days, and I'm still... Man, I'm texting away. I'm texting whoever, and I threatened to fucking sue her for emotional distress. And I am just everything that when women had broken up with me or ghosted me in the past, I was like, oh, whatever. All right. With this chick, I loved everything about her. I literally worshiped the ground she walked on, and I really, really lost myself in this. So she files for a restraining order. And it's like 2 weeks later, so right after the new year. So this is December timeframe. So around the new year, we're going to have the actual hearing. Because with a temporary restraining order, it's just approved. It's very unilateral. So the same judge who approves the temporary restraining order, you go before that judge, that same judge. So you're already behind the eight ball a little bit. Now I'm thinking, this is fine. This is okay because I'm going to tell this judge basically, how she used me and how hurt I am and how I had everything planned and I had an apartment for us, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, yeah, and then the judge is going to tell her what a bad person she is, and I'm look, this is going to be fucking fun. It wasn't fucking fun. So I hired a guy I went to law school with, really competent guy who did the best, not inexpensive. And he did the best he could for me. However, I left him very little wiggle room as far as defense because I was saying some weird shit, which would put any reasonable, prudent person in a position of feeling fearful. So I put this guy. He did his best, but he was very limited in his defense of me. So it was about halfway through the hearing, this judge starts objecting on her behalf. So I'm the restrained party, she's the protected party. And so the judge starts objecting on the protected party's behalf. I'm going to object on the protected party's behalf. I'm going to object on and it's like, even my lawyer, again, who's the top in our law school class, he's doing his best. He had done like 50 of these so far, so it's not like he's going in as a novice. He's getting a little frustrated. And it was around the second objection on the protected party's behalf. I remember thinking, this is not going to turn out well. So at the end of it, I get told by this judge, in a very legalistic way, what a piece of shit I am. How dare you? If I could give more time for the restraining order, I would. She assured me that if there was the tiniest violation, she would happily ensure that she would give me time to get my affairs in order so I can prepare to go to jail. If there was even a tiniest violation, don't you even think about seeing her, going near her, anywhere she works, anywhere she's at. Don't even think about it. And I walked out of there for 1 year restraining order. And I am destroyed. A few weeks ago, this was the woman that I was going to marry. This was the love, not only the woman I was going to marry, this is the woman who was the love of my life. And I see her walking out with her husband and somebody I thought was a friend, but whatever, was obviously more rooting for her than me, which is fine. And then another friend from the bar. I see her walking away, and it's like, well, that's the last time I'll ever see her, and this is where I'm at. And I fall into this catechism of alcohol, drugs, and it takes me 2 years to get back. So that week, I go to a bar in Rosarito Beach. Rosarito's just south of Tijuana. And I'm ordering some beers, and I'm getting fucking plastered. I'm getting it on. And I asked the waitress, very matter-of-factly, hey, you got any Coke? And she was like shocked at the question, like, of course. And I have this diametrically opposed, so I have this really, really skinny prostitute. They call them dancers, but they're all prostitutes. Some of the prostitutes dance, some don't. That's the only difference. But they're all prostitutes. So she's this like really skinny chick. Here, I got this huge like I don't want to be insensitive, but a bigger type girl on my left. So she brings out the blow, and I'm like, hey, you, and I say it in Spanish, like, hey, lay down, and she hey, put this Coke, put the Coke on this bitch's thigh bones, because I'm like, hey, I'm a law school graduate, we're gonna keep it classy, so I'm gonna do blow off this stripper's thigh bones, and who knows? This is the first time I ever used drugs. So the first time I'm using drugs is I don't know if it was cocaine, I don't know if it was fentanyl, I don't know if it was baby powder, but I ended up doing blow off this chick's thigh bones. Now I am just whacked out. I am just like, man, my hair's a mess, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fuck. I'm ready to drink, and I do. And I actually, I lost like $500 that night, not only on the blow, but, banging one stripper and then banging the other stripper. And, although I got a little coke dick midway through the second chick, I felt like king of the world. But I still have a profession. I still have a job. I still have stuff to do. I still have responsibilities. And so I'm able to manage it, or at least, I call it managing by just doing Friday, Saturday nights. That's how I'm managing it. Really, that's all I'm doing is deceiving myself, thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just doing Friday, Saturday night, just on a, recreationally. And so it ends up turning into, it's too expensive to do all the time. So I started getting into a Connect in San Diego, who gets me Percocets. And so I started popping Percocets. And I'm feeling, man, this is almost better than Coke, because it's not as expensive, and it's still expensive, but it's not as expensive, and I don't have to shove it up my nose. And I'm still drinking. I'm drinking every day. I'm not even going to work hungover. I'm going to work drunk. And how no one ever called me out on it, just went to go to show that I was able to further lie to myself. Hey, well, no one's calling me out on it, so I'm obviously able to still manage my shit. I'm still able to go to the gym, although in my Gatorade bottle, I got fucking little pints of vodka in there. Sometimes when I'm feeling froggy, I'll put a little gin in there. But I'm going to the gym, deceiving myself. I'm drinking at the gym. I'm not only drinking at the gym, I'm driving to the gym and driving back from the gym after drinking. But no one's catching me, so again, I must be doing things right. And then I am just continuing to I am just going downhill. So there's one night in Mexico, I'm in Tijuana. I pass by this taqueria, this taco place. You know, of course, Tijuana has the best tacos in the world. I see this hot Mexicana there. And again, I have a passing familiarity of Spanish, so enough to be able to get my face slapped. And like, hey, and then let's get some tacos. We have some tacos. And she's like, well, listen, I'm working. I'm on my dinner break, but I'll be finished at 11. Why don't you come get me? I'm like, fuck yeah. So I end up picking her up at 11. She's got 2 friends with her. I like how this is going. This is going to be a good night. And so we get in my car. So in Tijuana, you can very easily, if you take the wrong street, you can very, very easily find yourself going to the border of San Diego if you're not paying attention. And especially when you're trying to get downtown, the exits for downtown and to go to the border, they're right next to each other. So you gotta be very aware of where the fuck you're going. So of course I'm drunk, as usual. And I end up getting into the lane to go across the border. And it's like, fuck! And so I get these 3 chicks in my car who don't have permission to pass. I'm fucking drunk. And I was like, there's no fucking way. So I'm thinking a normal person would have, hey, get the fuck out. And then I would have just stayed to the side to wait to sober up. But sure enough, one guy knocks on my glass, speaks perfect English. He's like, hey, bro, you stuck? And I'm sure he's seen this a lot. I'm like, yeah, I am stuck. And he's like, I can get you out. It's like, how the fuck are you? Because there's no U-turn. There's no backing up unless you do it illegally. The only way to go is forward. He's like, oh, dude, I got you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the hood of your car. Not the hood. I'm sorry, not the hood, the trunk. I'm going to get in the trunk of your car. I got my flashlight. Just put it in reverse. I'm going to flash us. All right, just go really, really slow. And we're talking like a quarter of a mile. This is not like close. And it seems like the best idea ever. I was like, all right. And so I get into reverse. I had these 3 chicks I don't know. I got a guy on the trunk of my car with a flashlight. And I'm going reverse against traffic to get into the lane because all I'm thinking about is my dick. And I was like, I really just want to pound this chick tonight. Actually, if I could pound all 3 of them, that'd be like some Skinamax stuff right there. So he ends up getting us out. Hell, I don't kill anybody or kill him, so I pay him off. Sure enough, the blueberries and raspberries come, and the police pull me over. Like, they see this. The guy runs off. I'm like, fuck. And again, the cop speaks perfect English, and he's like, dude, what's up with that? Now I'm expecting either to go to jail or I have to pay this guy a massive bribe. But he was fucking super fucking cool. He's like, I see a lot of people get hurt doing that. He see what's up. And he was like, oh, just drive safe. And I'm reeking of alcohol. And I'm just, okay. And he lets me go. Sure enough, the girls were kind of like turned off by that. So I just ended up dropping them off. And then I ended up going back to a different bar and doing blow and doing strippers and maxing out my shit, following my dick, following my vices, and still getting into this pity party for myself. I thought she loved me. Why wouldn't she be with me? Blah, 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 blah. And it was horseshit. It was horseshit. Well, sure enough, I continue this path of self-destruction. And it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving, shockingly, intoxicated. Not quite intoxicated, more hungover. And I get pulled over for the cops said I ran a stop sign. This is in Tijuana. I get out, and I call him a American, which is basically I don't want to insult anybody, but it's an insulting word for people in the LGBTQ community. And so I call him that in Spanish. And he gives me all the love. He forces my face down in the hood of my car. He arrests me, and he's like, where are you going anyway? And then, of course, I haven't quite learned my lesson yet. And I told him I was on my way to see his wife. I wanted to get there before the line got too long. And he gave me a little bit more love when he's handcuffing me and he's got me there. I'm like, shit. Then he takes me to jail. I'm in Mexican jail for like 8 hours. Fucking sucks, but hey, we get through it. A friend of mine comes down, pays my bail, and lets me get going. And so it was there I made this decision for 1 year, I was going to travel to different places around the country and then around the world. So I ended up going to a buddy's farm in Arkansas. I do some parachuting in Florida and Texas. I go to Hawaii a couple times, and then I make it to Israel. Make it to Israel to do a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And I wanted to walk where Christ walked and have this communication with God. So I go to it's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the hill where Christ is believed was crucified, where he was laid out and washed, and then where he finally rose from the dead is in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So it's all right there. And I get there and I really come to terms with a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, my abuse, my self-destructive behavior, and I really forgive myself. Now, at the same time, when I was in my self-destructive behavior, I was putting a lot of shit out online about women and about women being whores and a lot of hate about women. And I obviously had more to learn because the restraining order was due to expire about a month after I got back from Israel. And that day, I am super happy. I go and buy a new phone. I crush them in and out. I'm clean. I'm sober. And I've kind of gotten through. I made the choice to just stop cold turkey, and I was fortunate to be able to do that. I had good friends around me who were able to be of assistance. And then when I'm out to go buy my new phone, the secretary has a somber look on her face, and she's like, "Hey, you just missed him." I'm like, "What? Would I miss a client?" And she's like, "No, you just missed a sheriff's deputy." I'm like, "For me?" And she handed me the card, and it was the same fucking card for when I got the first restraining order. It was a renewal for the restraining order. And I was like, I had just been so happy. I just gotten back from Israel. I traveled to Hawaii a couple times. I traveled to France. I just was feeling business was good. I was getting off the crank, getting my shit together. And then I can't believe it. Here we go again. So we go back to court. And this chick has got, now domestic violence restraining orders, there's only two choices with renewals. It's either 5 years or for a lifetime.
Hey, so what kind of things did you do to get a restraining order?
The first time or the second time? Well, just the second time?
I guess.
Yeah, so I just put a lot of stuff out online to say about...
What about the first time?
The first time I had texted her employers to tell her who I was.
Oh, you're bad.
Sorry?
You're bad.
I am bad. I am awful. I texted her employers. Apparently, she got a lot of issues as a result of that. I texted her sister. I was about to text her mom before the restraining order went into effect.
You made an enemy for life.
Oh, I mean, 100%. 100%. I mean, there's, and I continue to put shit out online, railing against the criminal justice system, railing against her. I never named her by name. Again, this is how we're able to delude ourselves, is thinking, well, I'm not naming her by name, and I got free, even though I have a restraining order, I have freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So sure enough, we go back to court, and she has a binder of stuff, of everything. I mean, it's like a senior thesis, man. She's got it chronologically detailed. She has certain things highlighted that I said. I mean, she printed out everything, all my statuses on messaging apps, not to her, didn't text her, but just on the status. And she's got a binder. So the day of the hearing, I made an argument. Well, Your Honor, I haven't even seen this. And she was like, "Well, don't worry, I have one for you too." She didn't say that, but she's got one for me as well. So I make the argument, well, I need more time to be able to go through this. And the judge says, listen, the judge is a little bit more easier going than the first one. I can already tell by her demeanor. It's not going to be good, but I can already tell by the demeanor this one's a little bit maybe easier to contend with. And part of me thinks, okay, I'll get the binder. I'll take the extension for the restraining order, and then I'm going to go to the best lawyer I can find in San Diego, best lawyer I can find in California, and I'm going to fight this. But then part of me was like, you know what? I'm a law school grad. Even if I hired the best lawyer, what can they really do? Let's fucking do this. And so we do it. And sure enough, the judge spends a half hour asking certain questions, and she starts folding. When the judge started folding her arms, I was like, fuck. And I was like, and this chick isn't budging. The protected party in my case, she isn't budging. She's asking for a lifetime. So potentially I could be 60 years from now, 103 years old, with a restraining order. Fortunately, there was a little love. I didn't contact her directly. I didn't threaten any physical harm. I didn't threaten to even contact her, but she gave me a 5-year restraining order, which is up. I have an end date, which is fortunate.
Tell me about your mom.
So growing up, it was me and my mom. So my dad, so I'll answer my mom, but just to mention my dad real quick, my dad was away for most of my childhood in federal prison. My dad ran a drug ring from Pennsylvania to South Carolina, running prescription drugs. And one day, his, I guess, mule or the guy who transported the drugs on Greyhound couldn't do it. Probably ratted him out. And so my dad took the pills down. So the plan was my dad was going to take the pills down to South Carolina, give it to his connect, get back on the bus, and then he ended up getting busted by 30 DEA agents, and he went to federal prison for 8 years. So dad wasn't around. So it was me and my mom. And mom was a severe alcoholic and drug user. And some of my earliest memories was that she would inject heroin into her body. Now, there was a certain point with heroin where her veins were no longer intact. So what she ended up doing was she would pull down her pants and inject into her genital area. And for some reason, I still feel bad about this. I wish I had done something different in that, but I would always look, which is a strange thing. So we're talking, I'm about 11 at this point. So she would inject heroin into her genital area, and I would watch. Sometimes I would turn around, but most times I watched. I don't know why. I wish I knew, but I don't know. There was one day in particular, she injected heroin into her genital area and she passed out. And I knew enough about physiology and anatomy to feel for a pulse. She didn't have one, so I started doing my thing best I could. She came back. And I don't know if she got confused in the moment, but she took a fistful of my hair and then she put it towards her genital area. And then it was about 2 minutes of, I guess it would have been oral sex on my mother. And afterwards, she kind of woke up around and, okay, where are we at? And because what mom would do is mom would get massively drunk. And she was a mean fucking drunk too. Mean fucking drunk. But I was always relieved when she did heroin. As weird and as skewed as that sound, I would always be grateful when she did heroin because she would be sobered up. The physiological result in her, she would just sober up, and then she'd be not the mom from Brady Bunch, but it would be easier going. So when she realized, well, what the fuck's going on? Like, okay, well, we're gonna stop that and we're gonna go get something to eat now. So at a point, mom was a prostitute. For several points, mom was a prostitute. And to add to that, when money really wasn't coming in for what she had to offer in terms of her body, she made arrangements with men. I don't know how it was done, in that she would make arrangements for me to have sex with men. And we're talking about, I'm about 11 going on 12. So my first, besides having sex with my mother, and saying that out loud is, I never imagined I would be saying it, but I'm saying it. And so the next sexual experiences were with men. And in those 5 experiences with men, I'm 43 now. So we're talking over 30 years. I can still remember the penetration. I can still remember the taste of semen. And one thing I'm very protective of is I'm a bigger guy and I'm a bit overweight as well. So I would be grabbed by the love handles by a lot of these guys and told what a bitch I am. Well, you like that, don't you, bitch? And there was what really stayed with me through that was one experience where he wasn't a nice guy. None of these guys were nice guys. But this guy was not as brutal in that I ended up experiencing my first orgasm with this guy. And that's part of the thing that really added to my sense of shame was I had an orgasm as a result of being sexually abused. And I held that within that it's beyond sexual abuse. I enjoyed it. And so Dad got out of prison. I was going to tell him, but it's like, I can't fucking tell. I mean, my dad was, old school, connected guy. My dad was a criminal, but he was also very protective of children, even though he wasn't there for his children. I can't just tell him about this. I can't just mention it to him. He's going to fucking kill my mother. And so eventually the plan is, always with a plan, my plan is with my mom, I'm going to spend the summer with my dad. Get refamiliarized with Dad. She's going to take the summer to get clean, and then me and her are going to go back to living together. Well, at the end of the summer, we had no idea where Mom was. She was gone off the grids. And because she no longer had me to have to contend with in terms of having to care for her. She could live wherever or live with whoever, and she wouldn't have to deal with having me tag along. And so we lost track of Mom for about a year afterwards. And so I got my working papers when I was 15. Got my working papers, started working at a gas station, started making money. I'm 15, started to make money. And not a lot, but enough to be able to go on dates and do 15-year-old stuff. One day, we're with my dad, and we've been together at this point for about 2 years. And I'm loving it. There's a sense of safety. There's a sense of routine. And so she calls the house phone. This is back before cell phones were so prevalent. And she calls the house phone. She's like, Michael. And I knew from the way she said Michael that she was drunk or high or both. I was like, what do you want? And she's like, Michael, I'm down the street. I need some money. I'm down the street from you and your dad's apartment, and I need some money. I was like, fuck you. And so I haven't heard from you for 2 years, and you're asking me for fucking money? Fuck you. And she's like, listen, Michael, if you don't come down to the store right now and give me $40, I'm going to cause a complete issue and cause a complete scene outside of your father's apartment. And of course, when you're 15, you're concerned as far as, this is why I kept all this shit secret. I mean, I can't tell anybody. I certainly can't let my mother, cause a scene, and I know she will. So me and my dad had this huge pizza, and we had literally every soda you could imagine in the fridge. So my dad gets out of the bathroom. He's like, who's that? And I was like, I make up some shit. And I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to the store real quick and pick up some soda. And my dad called me Mikey. He's the only one who's ever allowed to call me Mikey. So he's like, Mikey, we got our fridge full of soda. Yeah, but I'm really in the mood for some grape soda. And he looks at me like I'm fucking nuts. I'm like, all right, dude, go get your grape soda. So I run down. Now I got to buy grape soda and have fucking grape soda with my fucking lunch instead of a Coke or a Diet Coke. Go to the ATM, take out $40. I'm like, here's your $40. And I said something I even with everything that she did, I still regret to this day, in that I told her I hope she overdosed with it. And she's like, what, no kiss for your mother? I was like, fuck you. And then just take your $40 and just go. And that was it. That was really last I really had any time with Mom. Went back to living with my dad, and me and my dad got a house, but unfortunately, Daddy subsequently died of a brain aneurysm.
All right, so back to your story. You, the restraining order, the second one was in place?
Is it currently in place? Yes, it's currently in place. After the second restraining order, I want to go back to same behaviors. Strippers, hookers, blow, Percocets, and go back to maybe potentially killing myself. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something awesome instead. And so going back a little bit, I had done some mountain climbing previously. When I was with the United States Marine Corps, I did Mount Fuji when I was stationed in Japan. And then when I got back from Iraq, I did Mount Kilimanjaro. So I had some familiarity at the mountains. I knew what it was like to be able to push yourself, to be able to, and I really enjoyed being in nature and being able to push my body to a point where I didn't think it would be able to go. So I go back to thinking like, well, I can go back to Kilimanjaro. I can maybe potentially do Aconcagua in Argentina. Or, fuck, I'm going to go to Mount Everest. I'm going to go to the base camp of Mount Everest. And where I was working at the time, they kind of liked me. And I was like, listen, I need 6 weeks off. And if you want to fire me, that's totally fine. But I need 6 weeks. And they said, okay, no problem. And so that's what ends up happening. I make the arrangements. I go with a company called Mountain Madness, who I climbed with in Kilimanjaro. And I go to Everest. I spent a few days in India beforehand, and then I get into Nepal. Spend a few days in Kathmandu, and from Kathmandu, you have to take a flight, a helicopter, usually, to a place called Lukla. And Lukla is where every Everest expedition starts. Meet up with my guide, meet up with my porter, and I spend the next 3 weeks going to the base camp of Mount Everest. I took a picture of my dad with me to Mount Everest because it's not something he necessarily would have liked to have done or ever mentioned doing, but I think he would have liked to have done it if he had the opportunity. And so I took a picture of him up. And getting to the base camp Mount Everest, it didn't solve all my issues, but it gave me the opportunity to really look within. Because a lot of times I traveled during the course of the first restraining order, and sometimes that geographical distance from your problems is a good thing, but it doesn't solve the issue because you're not looking within. You're not looking at the things that have your unresolved issues. And so when I got to Everest, and I'm really able to enjoy and feeling very proud of myself, I take time afterwards to really look within. And that a lot of the shit with the restraining order and this chick who I loved and who I said the things I said had nothing to do with her. Had nothing to do with her. It was about my unresolved shit with women. It was about my unresolved shit with being sexually abused, and had nothing to do with her. And I had stuck so much within me without proper outlets, without properly looking within, that when she said, well, I wish you the best, all that stuff that I had previously just stuffed down was like a volcano. This was just all she was the catalyst. Everything that I did with our relationship or the affair, whatever you want to call it, she never asked me to do. She never asked me to leave my significant other at the time. She never asked me to leave my house. She never asked to get an apartment. And everything that I did was my choice. And when you're able to look within and make the determination, like, this is all my fault. This is all my fault. And when you take responsibility for it, that's when things get a lot easier. I struggled with suicide throughout my life. One of my earliest memories of struggling with suicide was there was a program in Philadelphia where, and I'm sure in other major cities as well, where you could exchange dirty needles for clean needles. And I remember we're in this long line of people who are evidently intravenous drug users. And I remember thinking, all I want to do is run into traffic. And it's not like a passive thought in retrospect. This is an actual, like, I could just run, and if one of these pickup trucks or one of these semis goes by, I can just run in front of it and that will do the deal. And so this is something I'm struggling with before I'm even 10 years old in terms of suicide. When I was in Afghanistan, it was not much of a combat deployment for me at that time. There was a lot of cutting of footage for combat missions. So I'm seeing families get smoked. I'm seeing insurgents, even though they're the bad guys, they're getting smoked. And watching day after day, 20 people on average get smoked, fucked my mind a little bit. Now, at the same time, I was going through my first divorce. And because of my reckless behavior and my inability to deal with my own shit internally, I had had a child out of wedlock. So while being married, I met up with this chick and banging her in the backseat of her car often. She's like, right before I leave for Afghanistan, she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm like, fuck. So she gives birth, and sure enough, right on the few days before I leave for Afghanistan, we go to child support court. And I am fucking just hemorrhaging fucking money. So I'm going through my divorce. So there's alimony there. There's my kid with her, child support there. And then there's my new kid, child support there. I am just losing money left and right. And along with all the seeing people dead day after day, I take my rifle. It has a round in the chamber. I put the barrel of the rifle in my mouth. Spoiler alert, I don't do it, obviously. But for about 45 seconds, I struggled with a loaded weapon in my mouth. I click it off safe, take the bullet out. I was like, all right, I can get through this. I really can get through this. Now, the only person I had ever told about that was the person who I had asked to marry me, who was already married. She was the only person I ever told. So kind of going backwards for a moment, when the day of the court hearing, one of the reasons she shared that was she was so scared of me, along with my little text frenzy episode, was without one iota of hesitancy, she shared that I had placed a loaded weapon in my mouth in Afghanistan. And I had never told anybody that, and here she is telling it in open court. So it was afterwards, I was like, all right, hey, kudos to her for having her voice, and I acknowledge that she has the right to her feelings. And so after that happened, I decided to make a decision to share aspects of my story, because there's so much shame associated with, especially for men, in terms of sexual abuse, in terms of suicide. And for somebody who's been at the edge of suicide 5 times in 43 years, to be able to share that there's hope on the other side, that the struggles you're going through isn't worth you making that ultimate decision, because you're going to come through this. And even though in the past I was like, man, I wish I had never met this fucking broad. I wish I never took that fucking job at the fucking bar. I wish I just banged her and left. I wish, she had left her husband and been with me. No. So as much as the past, there are things about the past I don't like, and I wish I could have changed, or wish I could change rather. I'm glad it did happen in a really weird way, because I took the old me, who was in a lot of ways arrogant, who in a lot of ways would take it out on other people about his own shit. And so one of the things that I would confuse banging a bunch of broads as an accomplishment. All right, so I got a half El Salvadorian, a half Mexican. That's knocked off. Or I got a black chick. I got one half Japanese, half Korean chick. And it was like a list of accomplishments. So I'm using sex again, because I'm exposed to sex at such a young age. I'm using sex for that same aspect of power, because I'm able to feel what these guys felt in terms of power. And it was not about the sex. It was about that feeling of the power dynamic, of feeling having power over people and over women. And a lot of that had to do with unresolved sexual abuse, unresolved shit with my mom, et cetera. And ultimately, I'm glad that I'm able to share my story now. The big thing is, how do I want to say this? I certainly hope this story, by sharing this story, it eliminates aspect of shame. And I'm not saying you have to go up to people out on the street and say, hey, I was sexually abused, or I had a bad relationship with my mother. It was more of understand that understand your emotions, and understand what you're doing to deal with it. because for me, my big thing was how do I say this? I wish I had known the things that I knew now earlier. I wish I had been more in touch with my feelings. I wish that I wasn't confusing banging a bunch of chicks as an accomplishment. An accomplishment is doing what I do now. I do mediation. I'm a notary public. I'm an author. Those are accomplishments. I'm a law school grad. Those are accomplishments, whereas banging a bunch of chicks and doing a bunch of blow is not an accomplishment. What's an accomplishment is doing the positive things, like finishing law school, like getting to the top of Kilimanjaro, like getting to the base camp of Mount Everest, and really challenge yourself to be and stack those wins to be the best you that you can be.
That's great. All right, Mike, thank you so much.
All right.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.